This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Welcome into the Triple Option. I am Paul Catalina alongside Jack Mackenzie once again.
Hello.
And so this show was inspired by two things. One, Royden is in Spain. He's in España eating paella on Ibiza in the home of Penelope Cruz.
Okay, Fez.
Well, that's what they do. I remember when I took Spanish in high school, my teacher said, well, in Spanish, they do the th thing. And I was like, well, like in Spain. And I was like, oh, that's weird. And he's like, yeah, I guess so. You know, he didn't think anything of it. You know, he's been to probably every Spanish-speaking country that you can get into safely in the world. And
what's that supposed to mean, Paul?
I mean, there's some that you can't, like, you know, where a short little bald Spanish teacher with anxiety issues probably wouldn't want to go. But he's traveled extensively. But he was like, yeah, he would tell us. And so sometimes he would give people bonus points if they would do it in the España way.
Jeez.
Maybe I think because it's funny to watch, you know, 15-year-old kids go España, and try to do that and put the little accent on it. I love the Barcelona Olympics in 1992.
You're having a lot of fun with this.
Yeah, I know, I do. But I made a $5 bet with Jack last week, and so here's the deal. I'm going to, in the break, because I don't want, unless Jack wants his Venmo out there on the air.
No.
So in the break, I'm going to Venmo Jack $5 because I was feeling weirdly confident that history would hold to itself and Duke would not beat FSU.
The future is now, old man.
Yeah, it is absolutely now. And that is where I actually hit my rock bottom, realizing that all these things that have never happened before are now happening. So I wanted to go through college football things I was wrong about and in this show. And we did not have a whole lot of time to prep today because we had the Bearcast on Tuesdays that is right here, like at this very table. Then I just about 7 minutes ago finished an interview that we had to record about Indiana for the main show today. So this might be a little more improv-ish than you guys are used to. I know that you come to this show for the rigid preparation and the discipline of which I employ.
Yes.
I think those
are your calling cards, Paul.
That's what's in the comments all the time about the triple option. Very disciplined, regimented. In no way does he go off on tangents about places like España. So I will cop to something, and then Jack is going to chastise me for it or tell me that it's okay.
No, I would have done the exact same thing you did, honestly.
Okay.
If that was my team with that kind of history, I would have been like, no, there's no way.
Yeah.
We're not.
Yeah.
And Paul wasn't even that animated in fighting against me. He was just like, no, like, we just shouldn't.
Yeah. And honestly, if you watch the game, there were points in that game where I was like, I'm going to win $5. All right. And then Jack and I had actually both forgotten about it. And then Garrett.
Oh, I did
not forget.
Oh, it was just in the back of your mind.
I just really didn't
want to say anything.
Like,
no, that's fine.
Trigger you over the weekend. I didn't know exactly how hard that loss hit.
No, they're not hitting hard anymore. I mean, you know, they're not. They're not.
Paul,
it just is.
Are you all right?
Here's the thing. When I realized that this is going to be the worst season since pre-Bowden, I had a strange sense of peace. Like, okay, well, it's just going to be bad. I can't have expectations anymore. They're about to get absolutely shredded by Miami, which FSU did to them a couple years ago. They went down to their place and absolutely ate their lunch. And now Miami has got this star quarterback and all these great players, and their fans might actually show up to this one. Like, you know, all the things that are the calling cards of a good Miami team is, and this is Miami for anything. For anything. they're I don't want to say fair weather fans, but if the team is just slightly below championship caliber, like they could be really, really good. Really, the Marlins could be a really good team, but they're just not going to beat the Braves or the Dodgers in the playoffs. People still aren't going to go. The Dolphins might be the only thing because it's the NFL, and the NFL can just churn out sellouts. But even then, the enthusiasm for the Dolphins is, right now, well below Marino levels. Like, it's not like –
That's a decently high bar, Paul.
Yeah, but that's what I'm trying to say is the only time they've ever been like, the Dolphins in my lifetime was the Shula and Marino era. And then ever since that era ended, it's always been like, oh, hell, is there a Dolphins game on in an hour? All right, might as well sit down and watch it. Guys, order some Cuban sandwiches. Let's have some fun. That's basically it. So Miami is a city, and look, the university has felt this pain for a long time. They're either, if they're the U, which they have not been for a long time, if they're the U, then everybody's in. If they are any shade below the U, like almost the U, on the way to being the U, on the way out of being the U, unless they are at full strength, nobody gives a shit.
There's always a cooler, newer, hipper club going off.
Yeah. Well,
in Miami.
Well, just
there's something fun to do in Miami. And if the
say,
sports teams aren't successful, they're not the fun thing to do.
No, and I would say Miami and LA are specifically this because you can be on a boat really fast. Boom, all you have to do is call you either have a boat or you have at least 5 friends with boats, and then you call them and go, hey, when's the next time we can get on the boat? And they're like, I'm leaving in an hour. And you're like, all right, come along. I'll bring the beer. Great. Okay, awesome. Then you can be on a boat in the beach just like that. LA, same kind of thing. And so while there are other cities like New York and Chicago where there's tons of stuff to do, you can't just be in the ocean. And if you are, in New York, you technically could be, but you don't want to be. It's not like you're, it's going to be nice. But, okay, so here are some things I was wrong about. The first thing, and I'll just start with Miami, I thought they would take a silly Mario Cristobal-inspired loss by now.
They should have.
The last 3, they had the
frankly
opportunity to. They have not. Now, would it be full Cristobal to lose to the worst FSU team in 45 years? Yes. Yes, it would. Or more, almost 50 years. So, yes, it would. But, let's face it, that's not going to happen because FSU can't block, they can't catch, and we're not sure if anybody can actually throw. So, they also can't create turnovers.
And I'm just in here wondering with this Miami team, so are they worse than their results have been because they keep just finding ways to get away with it? Or are they better because they're able to get away with it every time, and eventually they're going to stop getting away with it?
That's what good teams do, right?
They're going to stop having to get away with it. They'll just start winning games outright.
And look, here's the thing. Their schedule is on the way out is more challenging than it has been. But if you look at, last second win over Virginia Tech, which came down to review. Last minute win over Cal that came down to just ridiculous play. And then a Louisville win that was spurred on by a reverse call that would have put Louisville in the lead, on a fumble, or at least tie. I think they would tie the game. They would tie the game on a fumble. A bad FSU team, a Duke team that I'll tell you is good but not great. They're fine. But they're they should not lose to this Duke team with their offense compared to Duke's offense. Georgia Tech, who will see who they have playing at quarterback by that time, whether it's Pyron or Haynes King, but a game where they have got to have revenge on their mind. A bad Wake team and a Syracuse team that could honestly jump up and bite them, but that game will probably look a lot like the Cal or Louisville game. But if they come out on top, so there's no Clemson in that. There's no SMU in that. There's no Pitt in that. And those are all the teams I would see having the most reasonable chance to beat them. So, man, this could be a season of destiny for them. I think that's already proven itself out. I knew they were going to be good. I just thought there would be some things in the way that got to them. But they've cleared all the hurdles they've cleared. Virginia Tech, Cal, and Louisville, 3 weeks make me think oh no, this team might be special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what else to say. Like, how else can you say it other than they are special? I mean, that offense is scary. Cam Ward is the coolest operator. Their D-line is impressing me. Like, I didn't have that level of knowledge about that team heading into the year, but their D-line has impressed me, albeit maybe against ACC play, which I still don't know what to make of the conference as a whole, especially now that a program I expected to be at or near the top is definitively at the bottom.
Yeah.
But guys like Xavier Restrepo just make me think they're going to find a way. They're going to find a way into the playoff. And then once they're in, they can make some noise if their lines are healthy.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll stay in the ACC for one more. I thought Clemson was about to have the wheels fall off.
Really?
I did. I thought they were about to, like, the way that it looks for programs like that is you have your, because it had been a 3-year, downturn. And they weren't bad last year, but they certainly weren't Clemson. And now, granted, their schedule has worked out for them after Georgia as well, in that they've not beaten anybody since then. But the thing is, like last year, if you compare last year to this year, they were also having a lot of trouble with those teams. Now they're not. Virginia gave them kind of a little scare early on. Florida State hung in for longer than they should have. But bottom line, they're blowing everybody out. And their schedule, Louisville, Virginia Tech, Pitt, the Citadel, and South Carolina, works out pretty well for them. Again, whatever the ACC title game is going to be the first time that any of these top teams meet. So, it's going to be like that probably in the Big 12 as well. Now that we're seeing who the top teams are, and maybe in the SEC, or anywhere else. But the fact that we have these big conferences and you have Clemson, Miami, SMU, and Clemson's only playing Pittsburgh out of that in the top. Because they're not playing Duke, who's in 5th. They do
have Louisville.
They do have Louisville, who has lost 3 in a row now. So, what? But
I don't know. Louisville did impress me the way they pushed Miami.
Yeah, that's kind of who they are. Like,
they'll push you, but they won't win.
Yeah, that's who they are right now. Okay. Another thing I was wrong about. I thought that this is hard for me to say. I thought Texas's defense would be not good. I thought it would, or not to the level it was last year. I thought when you lose 2 defensive tackles like you lose, and linebackers like they lost, I thought there's no way going into a tougher schedule in this different conference that they're going to, have this kind of dominant defense. And look, the defense, for the most part, against Clay, I know that was 30 points they gave up, but that's like the combination.
The turnovers that the offense gave to Georgia, to me, that without those turnovers, 1, Texas probably wins, and 2, that defense isn't giving up more than 21, 24.
They picked off Carson Beck 3 times. They still, in all that, were doing their job.
Yes.
In all of that, they were doing their job.
Like that 30 piece is not a fully on the defense 30 piece. That's what I'm trying to say. Because obviously turnovers played a big role on both sides for the game.
I also would like to point out, while we're in this, how many other people with college football podcasts will sit here and tell you, line by line, the things they were wrong about.
Maybe 2 or 3 others in the nation.
Maybe, I don't know. I don't know. I think
you're in rare company.
I'm in rare company because it takes a lot to admit when you're wrong. It takes a lot. We're in election season. We have to admit when we're wrong about some things, or we keep electing stupid people into all these positions in office. So this is hopefully to inspire people to knowing that admitting when you're wrong is the sign of true growth and emotional wellness.
Yeah, but I can never be wrong.
Yeah. You're not married yet.
Paul?
Yeah.
It was a political joke.
I know.
Not a married joke.
Okay, no. Just saying. Garrett.
Yes.
How much did you think you were right? I know you were very young, but you thought you were right most of the time when you were a single man, right?
Dude, I didn't really have much chance to be single, but yeah, Yeah, I used to think I was right a lot.
Okay, now in your life as a married man.
Oh, I know. I'm wrong all the time.
Yeah, I mean, even when you know that you're kind of right, you have to.
You still got to take that L.
You have to take the loss.
Yeah.
I mean, it's upside down. It's a hard thing to do. I'm just over a year into this, and I thought I was getting really good at it. And then I got so good into the fact that she figured out I was intentionally taking the L. So then it like veered back into, well, wait a minute. You're just going to let me have this? I'm like, well, yeah, it's not worth it to me. Well, why is it not worth it to you? Well, I mean, and then you say something so, well, I know I'm kind of right about this, but I'll just let you figure that out on your own.
That's dangerous, Paul.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want you to be upset, so I'm just gonna take a knee here. And then she's like, no.
Play the damn
Yeah,
game.
you put the starters back in, buddy. Let's not. No. I'm winning this game. I don't want the pollsters dropping me down.
You're not allowed to just sit there and think you're right without telling me.
Yeah, exactly.
I own what's inside your head now.
Yeah. You put those guys back in. He's not hurt. Go. But, yeah, no, that's not with you. But yes, with Texas, I thought that their defense would take a step back. And they've not played a great offense yet, except for, and like Georgia's not even that great on offense, but their defense is so legit. So much so that I think Pete Kwiatkowski is going to get mentioned for some head coaching jobs. I will say, though, if you're going to get the guy who's the defensive coordinator at Texas away, it better be a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Like UAB is not going to get Pete Kwiatkowski away, right? East Carolina is not going to get Pete Kwiatkowski unless he's just itching to be a head coach and needs to prove it.
Here's an interesting way to frame it, because I think we're going to start hearing this as a framing for head coaching decisions and whatnot. Does he go to something below a Power 2? Like if an ACC or a Big 12 job came open, would it have to be the right one, or like?
I think you would do that, but you're not going to co-coach San Diego State. Because that job would open up, right? I mean, because you unless you're really trying to prove it, and most of the time the guys who are the coordinators at jobs like Texas or Georgia don't need to go. Like they can go to Duke. Like Manny Diaz was at Penn State, he went to Duke. Like that's what they can do. Yep. And then if he's successful at Duke, then he'll get a job. Now, granted, he was the head coach at Miami, and they fired him before they even really gave him a chance because they were like, well, we can get Mario Cristobal, so let's go get him. He's one of ours, and
that was a fair move.
I mean, can't say it's not working out for him.
Yeah,
you can't say it's not working
outside of that Georgia Tech game.
I mean, a lot of games last year, but they had to, and credit to Mario Cristobal, because this is clearly a really hard thing to do. He had to hit on a transfer quarterback this year, or it was going to be really hard for him to sell the program to all these recruits. He's been like, hey, Miami's cool again. And he's had to do that with the promise of new facilities. Not even their facilities are way behind. No on-campus stadium, and not one in sight. I know that people are like, oh, they get to play at the Dolphin Stadium. That's not a big deal for college players.
That's going to be the biggest thing.
And the other thing is when you have to get on a bus, not to go from the hotel to the stadium, but a bus to just go to the stadium to do a walkthrough the night before. And it's a long way away from that campus. It wears on you. It's just one of those things oh, great. Here we have to go to, I don't know, Hard Rock again. It's had, that stadium's had more names than Elizabeth Taylor. But, it's ridiculous. And I know you probably don't get that reference, but she was married
Slightly.
a lot. She was married a lot. But, yeah, no, I thought there would be some, sort of – but to Mario Cristobal's credit, he had to go out and get the best quarterback he could, and he did.
Yeah.
He did. Cam Ward is so good. And to me, he and Shadur are 1 and 1A quarterbacks in the country right now. I could not believe that Ohio State did not get involved with Cam Ward. I can't believe FSU jumped out of the boat and was impatient on him, unless they just felt he was going to Miami. After that, and maybe his personality fit, and this is a compliment. I know it might sound like it's not, but it's
especially from you.
Yeah, his personality fits Miami. I actually don't the way I feel I respect Miami because they own who they are, as opposed to Florida, who doesn't. Like Miami owns who they are.
Here we go.
That's where the difference is. Do I hate them both? Yes. But it's more of a Ron Burgundy, Wes Mantooth thing.
Okay.
If you understand that.
Yes.
Like, yes. So.
Okay, that hurts that you assume I haven't seen
Anchorman?
Anchorman.
Yeah. So that's more of what it is. But yes. So I was wrong about Texas. I was wrong about Miami. And look, I can say this, and we'll tease it after the break. I will go through in the next segment how wrong I was about the Big 12 so far.
Oh, I can join that list.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, we can all in the media join it, but I will go through how wrong I was.
And I will back you up.
Yeah, I was so wrong about so
wrong.
many things in the Big 12. And then I'm mad about one of the things that I was right about, but then I let their fan base talk me into being wrong about it, and I think you know who that is. This is the Triple Option on 365 Sports.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Welcome back, Triple Option. Paul and Jack here with you. And this is a very special episode where I admit the things I was wrong about.
Basically, where we advertise why you shouldn't listen to us.
Exactly. Like, here's why. Now, will Josh Pate sit in front of you and talk all his Pate State nonsense and say he was wrong? And look, he's great, is what he does. I'm not saying he's not. But no, he won't. Well, my dear friend, J.D. Piquel, he might. I don't know, J.D. might. J.D. might. I don't know.
I don't know if they ask him to, but he would.
Yeah.
He would.
Yeah. Listen, does
JD.
Kirk Herbstreit ever say when he's wrong?
Oh, heck no.
Does Desmond Howard?
Please.
No. You know, Pat McAfee doesn't really need to because we most assume he made those predictions while drunk. So, you know, like they're not going to say like, oh, man, I was wrong about that. No. I'm up here saying, do the clowns on the charlatan Triple Option show admit when they're wrong? I promise you, one of those a-holes does not. Never has and never will.
And does he admit when his players have done wrong?
Or his coaches.
Hell no.
Or his coaches that he's taken through several jobs, knowing exactly what his coach was doing.
No.
Will he admit what he himself did wrong in a bar in Columbus, Ohio, after sending his wife home with the grandkids?
Please.
No. Again, this is the punditry that you're here for, is when people admit when they're wrong. Tucker Carlson's not doing it. Whoever the people on CNN are, Jake Tapper's not doing it. I'm doing it. I guess those are the opposites of each other, right? I don't know. I don't watch them. I don't watch them enough.
I kind of just let you do your thing.
Yeah. So we're going to use this segment to show Bracket Cat says it's OSU, Paul, isn't it? Yes. That's the first thing we'll talk about. I spent the entire offseason saying, I don't know about Oklahoma State. And then I got talked into it because of the wide receivers and Ollie Gordon and the offensive line.
You know why I got talked into it? Not for any of those things, but for the simple fact I have been ready to stick a fork in Oklahoma State for like the last 3 straight years. And right when I've like stabbed them in the neck with it, they've come back to life.
Yeah.
Like every year, like clockwork, the second I'm ready to give up on that Oklahoma State Cowboys team, they come back to life. And it's so weird. And this year I was like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And it looks like I should have done it. It looks like I should have put the fork in him.
Yeah. Bracket Cat says, could be worse, Paul. Picked OSU to win the league. Ha, ha, ha. So, according to Kyle Visser, Tucker Carlson has said he was wrong about many things. All right, well, I'm not watching that a-hole, so I don't know.
Yeah, me neither. I not the kind of content I want to watch.
No, if he was doing the podcast in my front yard, I'd go to the back.
I stick to sports.
Yeah. So, anyway, he did through emails also admit that he was wrong about the election. I don't know if you guys saw the Dominion case. Going to throw that out there, but anyway. But they did admit that he did that anyway.
Anyway,
$787 million.
You mind if I tee us up?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, heading into the season on Second365.com, all of us contributors were asked to offer who we thought would be in the Big 12 championship game and who would win the Big 12 championship game.
Yeah.
You and I had the same answer, and well, we were dead wrong about one of those teams.
Yeah, Utah. And I don't know why I didn't apply the same logic to Cam Rising that I did to Alan Bowman, because my logic also on Alan Bowman was, he's not really that good anyway. That he got through, they got through with a very average year, 15 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. I mean, that's only slightly over 1-to-1 in that. So they had these great wide receivers, and it didn't matter in that regard. But I thought, okay, well, Ollie Gordon's still Ollie Gordon. That's going to happen. Offensive line, blah, blah, blah. They didn't happen. Okay, so there's a lot of things. I don't know why in the midst of that I didn't say, well, another really devastating injury that he had. He's 25 years old in Cam Rising. What's to tell me that he's going to be durable when he comes back? And that's exactly what I should not have thought. I should have maybe hedged a little bit on Utah. But the thing is, my team after Utah was Kansas, who, this is another thing I was wrong about. If Jalen Daniels plays every game, they're not going to lose many games. Well, that exact opposite of that has happened.
That's one of the crazier things for me, and I don't know what to chalk it up to, because it seems a little quick and reductionist just to say new offense hasn't worked out. They didn't get it installed properly early on, and they dropped games early. It does seem like they might be coming around a bit, but too little too late, mostly for their expectations on the year, because you had one of the best quarterbacks in the league. You have a head coach who seemed to have things rolling. There's a lot of momentum, and they went out and laid how many eggs in a row?
Yeah. They lost 5 games in a row, right? They're 2-5.
I'm pulling it up right now.
Yeah, they're 2-5 because they won the first one against Lindenwood and then lost the next 5.
Yes.
And then won this last week.
They thrashed Houston.
Yeah, they did. And maybe they finish 6-6 on the way out. I don't think that that's going to happen. I think they've got other problems, but I thought it was going to come down this week's game, and it still might, but this week's game only affects the Big 12 championship if Kansas State loses. Mm-hmm. I thought it was going to be the winner of this game is probably a participant in that game. That is not happening at all. At all. So, wrong about that. I was wrong. I was wrong. I went on 2 different UCF podcasts and told them that they should not worry about KJ Jefferson. This offense was perfect for him. Plus, the pressure's off of them. They've got 3 really good running backs. They've got 2 really good wide receivers. The offensive line is good. The defense will be better than it was a year ago. Plus, if they're running the ball as much as they are, the defense doesn't have to be that great because the best defense will be their offense because they'll be able to grind clock late in games and do that. They have now lost 4 games in a row, and they are not in contention for the Big 12 title. So I thought they would be a team that hung around. They have proved me very, very, very wrong.
Yeah. And for as wrong as you might have been about UCF, a team that I was probably even more wrong about, BYU. I think I had them.
We were all wrong about
13th
BYU
in the conference.
I had them
Maybe
15th.
worse.
I think I had them 15th.
Yeah. And I don't know what it was for me, really. Like, Retzlaff has impressed me. I did not think he would be this good. I just didn't think they had the Jimmies and the Joes, frankly. Outside of Roberts at receiver, I was just like, I don't see what they have. And I guess I was blind. Because starting off 4-0 in conference play, as messy as a couple of those games have looked for them, specifically like Baylor and Oklahoma State, good teams find a way to win. And they're showing that they, even if they don't necessarily have the individual stars at any position, guys that you know will play on Sundays specifically, they're a good team. They've put it together.
Yeah, they're very good. They're very good. I feel like I was on the right track about Iowa State. I thought they would be good. I just didn't realize they'd be this good. I do think that win against Iowa gave them a confidence boost that now they don't worry about things.
I feel like they usually have some kind of early season troubles and then they figure themselves out.
Yeah.
But you're right. Beating Iowa the early took them 3 weeks into the future.
The early season trouble was just the first half against Iowa. That was it. After that, they've had games that are tight, yeah, but the style of football they play, they're not going to blow a lot of people out. But they're going to, again, not make mistakes. They weren't blowing Baylor out. In fact, they were losing to Baylor, and then Baylor just lost all the momentum, and Iowa State finished every drive from the middle of the third quarter on, was just like, all right, well, if you guys aren't going to score, then we will. So let's just go. And that kind of happened there. So I wasn't wrong about them. I'm very wrong about Colorado. I'm right about one thing. They've got to change their offensive system. When Shedur's gone, they can't. I don't care who you get at quarterback. They're not going to be able to do this like Shedur is doing.
No,
they're not.
You're not going to be able to be like, hey, top draft pick quality NFL quarterback, please throw to these NFL quality receivers and have no O-line and almost no semblance of a running game in front of you.
Yeah. That's not sustainable. Shedur is making it sustainable. He is making that work. I was very wrong that I thought their defense was soft. Their defense is not soft. Their defense is it's not great, but it's good enough.
It gets the job done.
Yeah, I mean, it gets the job done. You don't in college football. You don't need to have nearly the defensive efficiency you do have to in the NFL, but you have to have some. And last year they had none. This year they do. They're a very efficient defensive team, and I mean they've only allowed 153 points on the year. So through 7 games, that's a lot better than they were last year, where they were more like Texas Tech, who's allowed 253 points on the year. A quarter of those coming this last week. Just wanted to know that. I was wrong. I thought Tech would be maybe more up and down than they've been. They've had 2 little minutes of down. We'll see how they respond against TCU. Part of me wants to pick TCU this week, but part of me thinks that Tech may come and bounce back. I don't know. It depends. I don't know if TCU can stop Taj Brooks, but we said the same thing about Baylor a week ago, and they didn't stop him. They contained his impact. And then
they contained him and then did enough to take him out of the game situationally.
Yeah, and then the offense just didn't stop scoring, Yeah, I mean, the other thing I will tell you about that last week with Tech is, defensively, yes, that one of those touchdowns was given up by the defense. It was really given up by the special teams. I mean, Josh Cameron got knocked out at the 1. I don't know why, did they just feel bad he may not get another touchdown, so they gave it to him?
Yeah,
he was very clearly out of the 1.
The refs missed 3 of those same calls in the game.
I mean, this wasn't he bounced at the 1 and scooted over. He was going out of bounds.
The ref was afraid of getting hit.
And
I'm pretty sure that's where his mind was at.
And Josh's backside hit at the 1, out of bounds, and the ball was behind the pylon, so yeah, I guess technically it crossed the plane, but it's got to cross the plane inbounds, not out of bounds.
And his foot clipped the pylon. Maybe that's what confused the ref. Is that the pylon ended up down? I don't know.
Yeah,
but
I get not wanting to get hit.
Tech is confusing me currently. I don't I had the middle of the pack. I still think they're on for that kind of finish. Maybe they'll outperform what I thought they'd do, but they're confusing me. Like week 1, they go and they nearly get upset by Abilene Christian.
Yeah.
And then in my head, after losing to Washington State, I'm like, you're 0-2 to 2 teams I don't like. You should be 0-2. You're 1-1, but you should be 0-2 against 2 teams I don't think very highly of. Like Washington State's been better than I thought they would be, but then they go and they beat Arizona State and Cincinnati, who I'm now knowing I need to value a little higher.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, they're not really beating anyone. No, they're like those are some solid Big 12 teams this year. So, and then you go and lay that egg against Baylor. I do not know what to make of Texas Tech.
I was also wrong about Cincinnati. Picked them towards the bottom of the league. I thought but they're fun. They're fun.
Same with Arizona State for me. Might have the most fun coach in the nation.
Yeah. No, I was ready to build up them for next year.
Yeah.
And so I was like, look, I think they're going to be better, but yeah, they've got a guy who I think is very, very, very good. And I can't wait for the rest of the country I can't wait. Like, I don't know let's look who Arizona State plays non-conference wise in the next couple of years. They're going to wind up in a bowl game. I really hope they wind up in a bowl game against an SEC team so that, they'll be like, oh, Arizona State, rah, 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 and then lose.
I hope they don't.
Oh.
They go and beat an SEC team, you take at least 1 year off of how long Kenny Dillingham stays in the Big 12.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is his alma mater, so maybe he's got
That'd be cool. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. But if an SEC school comes calling.
They already drilled an SEC school once this year, and that was Mississippi State. They play them on the road next year.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's where he goes in 2 years.
I don't know. I wouldn't mind having him back. He knows the city of Tallahassee well. They play in 2026. They play at Kyle Field. So,
oh boy, I think that's one of the ones that's going to get canceled for the Big Ten SEC stuff.
If that happens by 2026, maybe. I hope not.
Me too. That's one of those things I don't want to see fully realized. Sorry to take us off track, but
no. But you're right. So I think that covers all that I was wrong about in the Big 12. And I was wrong about Oklahoma State, but really, had I gone with my initial instinct, I wouldn't have been wrong about them. So I'm mad about not going with my initial instinct on that one.
I definitely need to throw out Arizona. I thought they'd be so much better than they've been.
Yeah. I think I had them 5th.
I put too much faith in McMillan and Fafita.
I think next year when they send me the ballot, I'm just going to say, don't ask me.
Yeah. I don't think I actually turned mine in this year.
I did put Taj Brooks on the first, didn't I? I might have put him on the second team. God. I was between, look, the Big 12 has some really good running backs. R.J. Harvey, Taj Brooks, Ollie Gordon, Devin Neal, Cam Scadaboo. Like, I can go on and on and on. My first team right now is Brooks and Scadaboo. And then after that, I'll filter through. But there's other guys I'm leaving out, I know. Like, here's what I'm happy about. When I get down to vote for the postseason team, I don't have to worry about Colorado running backs. I don't have to worry about Arizona running backs. I only, we do a first and a second team. I only have to pick 2 quarterbacks. I already know who they're going to be. Shador. No, maybe I don't. It's going to be, I know who, there's 4 that I'm going to pick from. Shador is going to be my first team quarterback.
Yep.
And then Avery Johnson, Jake Retzlaff, and Rocco Becht are the next ones on my list. My preseason one was Jalen Daniels, and then second team was Avery Johnson. So, Again, a thing I wasn't completely right about. I probably should have given Shador a little bit more of a bump. I got to admit, I let his personality affect me a little bit, and I shouldn't do that. They've been, since that Nebraska game, they've been much more humble. Like, they've realized, hey, let's not write checks our ass can't cash. And, the Kansas State game was nip-tuck. I mean, that could have gone either way. So.
I wouldn't necessarily say I got humble vibes when I was out there, But by the end of the game, they were very thankful they escaped Baylor. So I think they've had a series of results this year that have definitely helped keep the hype in check, despite them, frankly, being a better and more successful team than they had been last year. I think they realize how close those margins are and how competitive things are, and that, yeah, their talent's seeing them through, but they need every ounce of that talent to see them through.
Yeah.
And I think that's only going to help those guys moving forward into their pro careers.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, I'm going to tell you things I was actually right about to give myself some credit. You tear yourself down.
Okay, so my task for the next segment is to try and keep tearing Paul down.
Okay, well, then we'll see. We'll see if you can do that. This is the Triple Option on 365 Sports.
Fantasy Sports EVO, the next evolution of daily fantasy sports. Tired of traditional fantasy sports where you spend hours upon hours studying individual players? EVO's unique team-based platform makes it easier than ever for all sports fans to play. No need to know individual players. Just choose your contest, select your teams, and enjoy the game. Whether you access our website from a desktop, mobile device, or the app, the experience is the same. EVO is for all sports fans. Join Fantasy Sports EVO and experience the evolution.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Welcome back, Paul Catalina and Jack Mackenzie. And now I'm going to say things I was right about, and Jack will try to tear me down.
God, this is going to be fun.
One, I thought LSU would be better than they were a year ago.
Okay.
And Garrett kept telling me I was wrong. So far, I've been right about that.
It's the natural progression of a team.
Yeah.
Garrett is a pessimistic who really just doesn't want to be hurt.
Yeah.
So I think you are taking credit for something that is completely easily predictable, and you were just listening to one guy being pessimistic.
They're also on the same track. It's not like they're improved from last year. They lost the first game last year. They lost the first game this year.
I didn't realize
They're
that would
rolling.
help.
They're
Thank you,
rolling.
Garrett. But yes, they are doing very well, and frankly, they're doing better than I thought they would be doing.
Yeah. I was right that A&M would be instantly better with Mike Elko. I know a lot of people are like, no, I've watched all of their games to know that they're good enough to do it. Like the frustrating thing for A&M fans was watching a game and going, why do they suck this bad? Like
Bad coaching.
Do you see the guy, do you not see this wide receiver running past that defensive back, or this block just going Chase Basantis just knocking a guy ass over tea kettle, and you're like, well, how did they? Oh, well, that's because the coaching wasn't good.
And a 20-year-old offensive scheme.
Yes. Yes, at least.
At least.
At least. One that they had. Yeah.
I felt like 20 was a safe number there.
Oh, hey, we can't get to A&M's game film. Oh, just go to LSU 2008.
Damn.
We'll just color correct it. Like the same thing. See, this is a play he's gonna call. And look, hey, he's gonna look like he's gonna run motion, but really it's just this guy standing in the wrong spot, so he's gonna scoot over 2 yards.
So yeah, thanks for that take, Captain Obvious.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who would have thought that they got rid of a inept coach at this point. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He achieved great things.
Yeah.
Hadn't done any of that lately.
No.
And they brought in someone who'd achieved some good stuff at a plucky little Duke school.
Yeah. I'll also go ahead and I feel comfortable making the prediction that they will not be 8-4. Will they be 9-3? Probably. But they will not be 8-4.
I'm going to go ahead and make the prediction right now. They're going to beat Texas.
I hope you're right. Gosh, I hope you're right.
God, I hope I'm right.
That would be, oh my gosh, that would be so great.
Do I have any analysis to base that on? No, it's hope, dreams, and prayers.
It's pure emotion.
I just do not want to see, don't want to see Texas fans be happy. It's I want to see A&M fans and their interactions with Texas fans after that. It's going to be so toxic. It's going to be hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I'll start rooting for both teams to lose the next year.
Yeah. Here's another thing I was right about. Carson Beck, kind of blah. He's just kind of there.
It's interesting because, like, I don't really feel like I can push back on you too much, despite the fact that he's literally following up a guy that people said should be an insurance salesman or a mailman. Like, how can you be more blah than the blah?
Yeah.
But
kind of blah.
Kind of
he's fine. I mean, like, again,
he looks more dead inside.
I wouldn't say no to him on most teams, but I'm just saying that, like, the number one quarterback going into the year, I never felt it. You know, I know that he closed strong, but also that team last year had, again, like 10 first-round draft picks on it, and, yeah, they're going to close strong.
Yeah.
They were. I feel I don't know if I talked up Notre Dame enough, but I feel like I was kind of right about them. I mean, they lost that one to Northern Illinois, but, I mean, their offense is a lot better. They can score. I can't wait to watch them play Navy this week. Honestly, I think that's going to be a fun game.
Who have they played? Who have they beat?
I mean, they beat Purdue. They beat A&M.
So they beat one of the worst Power 2 schools.
They beat Louisville.
A&M
They beat
Louisville.
Georgia Tech.
You were the one who was saying Louisville's. I
mean, look, yes, Louisville. And I'll use the national logic on Louisville. They were 15 when they beat them. Yeah.
And A&M was, and I think you'd agree with me, still getting used to who they were trying to become at that point. Like, I think those two teams play again. I think A&M wins 7 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
So, suffice to say, Notre Dame has not impressed me. Like, yeah, cool. You're beating up bad teams.
Now, look,
that's what good teams should do.
But
prove you're that, like, top-level playoff good.
You know what's funny is that I bet you their fans thought, the hard games are going to be behind us November 9th after Florida State. That's not true. Except for, and then USC wins the first one. Like, oh, man, that one at the end of the year is going to be for a spot in the playoff. Well, it can only be for a spot in the playoff for you, Notre Dame, because now USC's out, but the playoff spot that you might be knocking teams out of are Navy and Army.
Yeah.
Or both of them might knock you out.
Army,
those are their two best games for the rest of the year.
I wouldn't be surprised if USC also puts a scare into Notre Dame at least. Like, I am concerned they could end up with 4 losses. They really, truly could. I do not know. They have not proved to me that they are a playoff team yet.
Yeah.
And it's just a part of what they are, being independent, making their own schedule, having to deal with, well, this team's supposed to be good, but they're not. And I feel like that's actually something they've run into a lot over the last decade of this team was supposed to be good, and they're not.
Yeah.
So how can we prove it?
Yeah. No, absolutely. So trying to think of other things I might have been right about.
I know it's a short list.
I still think Ohio State has the best roster. But we did talk about how Will Howard was, I think, and I still think this, I think Will Howard can be the Ken Dorsey of that team where you don't have to be all that great, Will. Just, again, when you're in that moment like he was against Oregon, don't do a dumb thing. Like, that was the bet. Like, Ken Dorsey's an NFL coach now, and the reason I think he got that job so fast after he's in the NFL is, you couldn't write home about his arm strength or his athleticism or whatever. But I can tell you what, Ken Dorsey didn't do dumb things. Like, he just didn't do it. Like, he never put his team in a position to lose. And, look, he was the quarterback on 0-1 Miami. By far the least talented guy. And I'm not even knocking his talent. I'm just saying that, like, you know.
On one of the greatest teams possibly ever.
He was the Hawkeye of that Avengers. Where, like, yeah, you want to have a Hawkeye. But if Hawkeye wasn't there, would you notice?
You need to have the parent drive the car to get the kids to all the events.
Yes, that's what Hawkeye does. Like, hey, I've been running around shooting arrows at these things. These are the things I've learned. All right, Hulk, go smash things. You know, like
I love Hawkeye.
Yeah, I love Hawkeye
I need
too.
to rewatch that show.
I love Hawkeye too. It's just when you're in the room with Captain America, Iron Man, and the Hulk, and Thor. I mean,
Your cool factor goes down a good bit.
you know, like, what do? I'm really good at shooting arrows, and I'm pretty good in a fist fight. You're like, all right, well, you can handle those things. The giant ship.
You're just like a really talented human.
Yeah, exactly. Jeremy Renner did the sketch when he was on SNL. And it's like, how many arrows do you have? 9. But what happens when you run out? Oh, I just got to go get them. Like, shouldn't you have more than 9? It's like, no, it's all that fits in the in the quiver. Was the joke.
Was there anything ACC politics related?
I don't know. Nothing's
got
really
right.
happened yet.
Did you get that right?
No, I will stand by, like, my prediction is that they find a way to come back together and shorten the grant of rights. I think that's what's going to happen so that they can renegotiate the TV deal in a reasonable amount of time. Like, to get another look in, to do this, to get Florida State, Clemson, and whoever else, like, goes, you know, pops their head out of the sand.
Yeah, I want to be selfish too.
Yeah. Look, if Miami wins the national title this year, like, let's just say, like, if Miami wins, you don't think that they're not going to be like, hey, we're back. There's 2 documentaries about us, bitches. Like, what are you? We've laid dormant.
You owe me my money.
Exactly. So right now, Miami knows who they are. But, like, there is that, like, I know that feeling of, the Rock went here, son. Like, that's going to pop back in.
Third leg Greg went here, son.
Yes.
Best part of the entire document, both documentaries. That's the best part to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Big Dirty Greg.
I love Greg Olson.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't play that up enough because, you know, kids.
Yeah, it has to be family friendly.
Yeah, and he's married now, so. But yeah, no, I like those things. I think will happen. I don't know what else I would have really been right about, you know, other than
Who are your picks to make the playoff?
my picks to make the playoff right now. Oregon's
no,
gonna
at the start of the year.
at the start of the
Were
year.
you right?
Well, I thought. I was wrong about FSU. I thought they would be at least 12th.
Did you think Oregon was going to be in
Yes.
play for the conference championship?
Oh
game?
yeah. I did. Dan Lanning's too good. He's too good. And plus, like,
I was definitely wrong about how far Michigan's fallen.
I have less respect for that conference than I do most. I mean, they do things the right way and well and all that, but it's Ohio State and everybody else until last year the last couple years with Michigan. So, like, it's been, if you want to talk about a one-team league, like, them adding these other teams that can push Ohio State is a good thing because no one else consistently has through the last 3 Ohio State coaches. So, not through Tressel, not through Meyer, not through Ryan Day. Like, I know Luke Fickell was interim in there for a year, but not through that has anybody.
It took Harbaugh's Michigan.
It took Harbaugh's Michigan to push Ryan Day. And, yeah, Harbaugh knows more about football right now in this moment than Ryan Day does. Okay? That's not going to last
he's
forever.
gone now.
Yeah, but he's gone now. And so somebody else needs to be in the way. And that, to me, is
I pray to God it's Oregon.
At Oregon consistently because they have Dan Lanning.
Because Franklin and Penn State just seem like they can't figure it out.
Well, I mean, they have, like, he's had multiple shots.
Like, the 12-team playoff is the final shot I think he gets of, like, hey, can making the playoff consistently bring us enough juice to get over that hump to conference championships?
You know what I think the 12-team playoff will help with people like James Franklin is when it comes down to it, if James Franklin recruiting the same wide receiver or quarterback.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
It's Ohio State, yeah. And
we get into the tournament, we have a shot.
Yeah.
All we have to do is put it together in that shot,
Like,
and we always get that shot.
You're we need you to help us beat them. When you're like, well, even like the one year you did beat them, you still lost those other 2 games, and they went to the playoff and you didn't. So I'm just going to go there because I know that, like, even though they might lose to you once every 8-9 years, that's probably their one loss, and I'm fine with that.
We're on the same page here.
You're gonna turn around and lose 2 or 3 more after that because you're like, we did it, and then you lose.
Oh, what's up, Illinois? Oh,
yeah, exactly. Like Iowa holds you to 7 points, and you lose 9-7, and you're like, well, so much for that playoff run. Now I think that teams like that will be able to say that. I think Ole Miss was banking on it for this year, and I don't know if I made a hardcore prediction on Ole Miss, but I did. Like, my thing was, if not now, when? And I think a lot of people are going to be asking, like, well, Ole Miss does not have a legacy. Part of them losing to LSU, I think, is LSU had a little bit of legacy juice on that, where you're in Death Valley at night, you have these big moments.
We're LSU, you're not.
Yeah. You're sitting on the sideline during a commercial break, right, while the Red Hat's out there. And you look up on the board, and they're showing Joe Burrow highlights and, national championships and stuff. The same thing at Ole Miss is like, look, there's Archie Manning from 1969. Like, not the same thing. Maybe he was after the 60s. But you know what I'm saying? Like, the video is black and white and grainy. It's not in 4K.
It's Archie Manning, Eli Manning, and Michael Orr.
And a few clips from The Blind Side. I don't know.
Yeah,
what are you talking about?
Which, frankly, I don't think people are really trying to play much anymore.
Yeah. Deuce McAllister was good.
Yeah, he was fun.
They've had some good players, but they haven't had a lot of great teams. So those things are the legacy wins that teams like LSU get. Ole Miss has no mystique.
No.
Alabama mystiqued their way to that South Carolina win. I can guarantee you that. So they mystique their way to things.
I'm with you there.
All right. That's going to do it for us today on the show. We will have Zach Osterman of the Indy Star, Tim Brando at 4 o'clock, John McClain, Hall of Fame columnist. Today we will actually do the Big 12 North pod. Yesterday we had told you we were, but he actually intended to do the Big 12 South. So we pivoted off the radar, top 5. That's all coming up. See you in an hour. I'm right about more things than I'm wrong about. Please believe me.